Life gain and healing in video games is usually great. It's why most friends I have hoard healing items in RPGs, or want to play healers in multiplayer games or so on. Healing in trading card games is usually not too great though. No one's playing Dion Kettle the Cure Master or Salamander Pero in Yu-Gi-Oh!, at least not for the life point gain. Even in Magic, healing salve is made fun of for being clearly the worst boon, and almost nobody plays spells that just gain life. This is especially true in Commander, where, to specifically counteract a player having 200 plus life and slogging the game down, there's Commander damage, meaning if a Commander hits you for a total of 21 or more combat damage, you lose. You'd think this would instantly make life gain Commanders garbage, and some are, but a lot of them do have neat and creative ways to turn life gain into different advantages, from letting you draw cards to pumping your creatures and so on. Today, we'll be looking at one of those. Originally, I had Willow Dusk Essence here, and I had a lot of fun with it. My original plan was to make it more witch-flavored, and more focused on food tokens and pest tokens with some populate synergies. But then Betor was revealed, and instantly my mind locked onto it, so I decided to make that instead. So that's the commander we'll be looking at today. We'll go over the commander, talk about the deck's goals and playstyles, then do sort of a card by card in different categories. Note that, as usual, I'm not an expert, this is just my opinion on these cards and if I personally run them or not. Cards I love you can hate, cards I hate you could find fun and amazing. Another thing to note is that this is still a new commander. At the time of writing this, the deck this card is from isn't even out yet, so this may not be as fleshed out as the normal videos I do. With that said, let's get into the commander and talk about it. Betor, Ancestor's Voice, is a 3/5 legendary spirit dragon that costs 2 mana Abzan, has flying and lifelink, and reads, at the beginning of your end step, put a number of plus and plus 1 counters on up to one other target creature you control, equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. Return up to one target creature card with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you lost this turn from your graveyard to the battlefield. Betor is one of my favorite kinds of commanders. It has good stats, good keywords, the keywords help trigger itself without being too easy or too obvious, and let you go in different directions. You can make it all about life payment, you can make it about life gain and plus and plus 1 counters, you can try to do all of it at once. There's so many life pay cards, life gain cards, and cool stuff to revive as well as cool stuff that works with counters, that it makes it so even if you and I played the same commander, we'd have lots of different cards in our deck. As is, it can make your creatures massive with even an okay amount of life gain. Just gaining 2 or 3 life in a turn can make one of your creatures a decent bit bigger, and paying even 2 or 3 life a turn can revive a small creature to be a chump blocker or have some utility by sacrificing itself to be revived again on a later turn. As for what we're leaning into, we're going to try to aim for more of the life gain, life pay focus, with a bit less focus on the recursion or counter synergies. They'll still be there, but we're mostly looking to gain a bunch of life and pay a bunch of life to make your creatures massive and revive some threats or utility creatures. Obviously, we can't go over every single card that gains you life, or every single card that has you pay life, or every single creature that you can revive, but we'll cover some of the bigger ones of note at least. Let's start with the life gain portion of the deck. Aetherborn Marauder can make itself massive on board, with even one OK pump from Betor previously, and get you a pretty big lifelinker to boot, not to mention that if it connects once and you gain life from its lifelink, which you most likely will because it has flying, you can put more counters on it or another creature it took counters from. It's one of your easier ways to get a pretty big amount of life to trigger Betor. Conclave Mentor gives your creature an extra counter when you give them a plus and plus 1 counter, and then gets you a bunch of life when it dies, meaning you can chump block with this and gain a fuckload of life, or you can sack it for a trigger to gain the life back and redistribute its counter to another creature. If it was just the bonus counter, it'd probably be not worth running, but the life gain that's tacked on really helps a lot here. Disciple of Bolas lets you return a big creature into a bunch of card draw, and since you're gaining life equal to its power, you're almost always going to put more counters than you lost from sacking the creature to it. It can really help for a big push, and a great bit of life gain and draw power when you need it. Envoy of the Ancestors is a super simple card. The Outlast effect doesn't really matter, but I guess it could. The main thing here is that all of your modified creatures gain lifelink. Not much else to say. Everything you put a plus and plus 1 counter on it will get you more life, which triggers Betor, which makes your board bigger, which gets you more life, and so on. It's just a good card. Wish it didn't cost 3 so it double as an early game lifelinker, but it's fine as is. Fellbeast of Mordor is a card I don't see in recommendations for the deck a lot, but it's a decently costed flyer that gains you life every time it attacks, equal to its plus 1 plus 1 counters, and also makes an opponent lose that much life. It doesn't even need to drain from the person it's attacking. You could do some politics with it and attack towards a player that won't kill it, and just drain a problem player. It's a great card and one of my favorites in the deck. Grey Merchant was something that I originally cut due to my black devotion not being that high, but after editing the deck a bit, I ended up with a bit more devotion, and even if I didn't, at minimum, this makes each opponent lose 2 life and makes you gain 6 life, which isn't that bad. It's not easy to revive with Betor since it's 5 mana, but reviving it's also good too if it helps. Haywire Might is a 1 mana card that gains you 2 life when it enters, and gives you some enchantment or artifact removal. The thing that makes it pretty good is its reusability. You can revive it with just paying a single life during your turn, which means you get reusable exile removal, which is also nice, and also dodges protections and indestructibles that something might have. Ikra Shadiki is a popular partner commander, but it's also good here. Your commander has more toughness in its power, and so does she, and since Betor already has lifelink, you're going to get a minimum of 3 life plus another 5 from its toughness. A lot of other creatures here are also evasive, get in easily, and have higher toughness and power, especially after Betor's ability. You're going to gain a lot of life. Okay, so next one is admittedly a bad card. It's just a card that sort of a pet card I really like.
Ruin Lurker Bat.
That is a 1 mana 1/1 flying lifelinker that lets you scry during each of your end phases if a card hits your graveyard from anywhere this turn. It's not a great card, it's just an early game evasive lifelinker. I just think this little fella's cute. If you take out a card from the deck, this would probably be one of the first you should consider taking out. Spike Feeder's weird. The first effect is fine. It enters with 2 counters, whatever. The second lets you transfer counters from it to another creature. That effect can target itself in a pinch if you need to trigger anything, but that's almost never going to come up. The big thing here is that you can remove a +1/+1 counter on it to gain 2 life. Betor gives you 1 counter for each life you gain, so this can double every turn. You gain 10 life, put 10 counters on it, remove 10, gain 20 life, then put 20 on something. It's a weird card that doubles your life gain and can trigger whenever you gain life cards multiple times, since you gain it over and over again in multiple instances, as opposed to all at once. This is probably one of the best things to put Betor's counters on when your entire board is big enough to be fine, without more to stock up on, as sort of a bank. Something else of note is that at instant speed, you can remove the counters, so if this thing is about to die in combat or a kill spell, you can remove all the counters from it before resolving. Tithe Drinker is another simple creature, a simple 2 mana creature that has Extort. It's an easy way to use some unspent mana to drain 3 life total from your opponents, which can make Betor put 3 counters on something. It being an early game lifelinker also helps out since it costs a white and a black. You'll always at least have some way to trigger it if it's out, since it means you have some black and white mana to work with if you cast it in the first place. Alhammarit's Archive doubles the amount of life gain you get and doubles the amount of card draw you get. It's obviously good. Maybe if the deck wasn't green, it'd cost too much, but since we have Alright ramp, it's pretty good here. Normally this would be out of my budget, but it came in the Willow Dusk precon I used as a jumping off point for this deck, so it's in here. If it's out of your budget, there's some other cards we'll talk about later that, while not necessarily doubling your life gain a lot of the time, increases it by a few. Cleric class is great. At minimum, it's a 1 mana enchantment that gets you 1 extra life whenever you gain life, but at level 2 it puts a +1/+1 counter on your creature, which is a nice little bonus. And at level 3, you get a revive spell and a lot of life gain in some cases. Fumigate is a bit expensive mana cost wise, but the 1 mana extra from other board wipes is made up for with some pretty good life gain. Not much to say about this one, just a basic board wipe. Venser's Journal gets rid of your hand size limit and gains you life for each card in your hand during each of your turns. It costing 5 is a bit much, but we have a decent amount of card draw that can help us gain an alright amount of life each turn. Now, before I get into the category of cards that I don't run, note that, as I said before, I cannot possibly cover every single decent life gain card or every single creature with lifelink. This is just some of them. Aetherflux Reservoir is funny. You're not really a spellslinger though, so you're not going to gain that much life a lot of the time. The pay 50 to just wipe someone out is funny, since it can also let you revive anything from your graveyard. Disciple of Freyalise is just Disciple of Bolas that costs more mana and has a land on the other side. It's fine. The land on the back pays you life, which isn't that bad either. I just feel 3 green pips is a lot for a 3-color deck. Erebos' Intervention is fine. It's an alright removal spell that can also empty graveyards if you prefer. I just don't feel you gain enough life from it for me to want to run it. It basically reads 5 black mana, destroy a target creature, gain 5 life. Dodge is indestructible, I guess, since it gives -X/-X. Fairy Bladecraft is a basic flyer that drains life when it dies. It's a fine way to close games you have a sack outlet. I just don't want to pay $3 for it. Okay, so next is like 10 creatures that all do the same thing. Whenever a creature enters under your control, you gain 1 life. The issue here is you aren't the kind of deck to play a ton of creatures from my experience, so at most you're going to gain 1 or 2 life per turn, which isn't much. If you lean more into pest tokens or notice you're playing a lot of small creatures, they're fine. As for which ones are best, Prosperous Innkeeper gets you a treasure when it enters for some basic ramp. Life Cree Duo has flying. Distinguished Conjurer can blink your creatures as a fine mana sink in some cases. Eliseel Core, Sadistic Pilgrim, has Death Touch and makes your opponent lose some life. I'd say I like that one the most personally. Soul's Attendant, Essence Seer, and Essence Warden, on the other hand, trigger on any creature hitting the battlefield. Since your opponents can trigger it too, these are way more justifiable to run in my opinion. Rock's Faith Mender is great. It doubles all your life gain and is an okay defender with lifelink. I'll definitely add it to the deck at some point. I just don't want to spend the $3 on it at the moment. Boon Reflection is the same thing but costs more money and is on an enchantment if that matters to you. So let's say you can't afford one of the cards at double life totals. Archive is like $25 and Rocks is like 2 or 3, so even if you're on more of a budget, you can run one of a number of cards that get you 1 life instead of doubling it, which does help. Bilbo Birthday Celebrant is nice. It's an okay life gain bonus and lets you play all the creatures in your deck for 5 mana if you have 111 more life, which isn't impossible to do. Honor Troll is a 3 mana 4/4 with Vigilance most of the time that gets you a bonus life. It's fine. Verdant Sun's Avatar gets you life equal to the toughness of any creature you put out, which can 100% add up. It's just a lot of mana to sink into something that you won't get tons of benefits from until next turn. At least it counts itself, so you'll gain 5 life from a minimum. Leyline of Hope gives your creatures a pretty good stat boost while you have a lot of life, but you pay so much life in Betor that sometimes it doesn't do much. The 1 bonus life is a decent bonus, at least. Exsanguinate's boring. It's a good card, it just wins games instantly and I don't find it interesting. I don't know, run it if you want. Debt to the Deathless is the same thing as Exsanguinate but costs more mana. It's fine, costs too much mana in my opinion. Exsanguinate's cheap money wise. Just get that if you want to end games with it. Whip of Erebos gives all of your creatures lifelink and gives you an okay revival ability. Though a lot of things you like reviving in here, you want to revive over and over again, I guess this is fine in a pinch. Okay, so that's at least some of them. Again, life gain is such a generic thing that there's loads of cards that gain life or have lifelink. Look into more yourself. Since we covered ways to gain life, now let's cover ways to get rid of it so you can trigger Betor's revival effect. Blood Tracker is a classic, letting you pay 2 mana and put counters on it for 1 mana, and also drawing you a heckload of cards when it leaves. Gaining even 5 life and putting the counters on this gives you a 7/7 flying attacker that draws you 5 when it leaves the battlefield. It doesn't even trigger on just death, it's if it leaves the battlefield at all, and that's before even accounting for the fact that it turns excess mana into life payment to revive stuff with Betor. Great card in here. Darkstar Augur is a pretty good draw tool, adding the top card of your deck to your hand each turn and making you lose life equal to its mana value. Offspring even means you can have 2 of it out if you wanted, which can mean big revives with Betor that are not that hard to do with it, while also getting you 2 cards in a turn. Doom Whisperer is one of the best cards in the deck. Costs a decent bit of mana, but its ability just being pay 2 life as much as you want, whenever you want, can let you get anything from your graveyard with Betor while also surveilling, which fills your graveyard with stuff to revive with Betor as well. It being a good sized flying trampler also helps. Karik, Son of Yawgmoth, lets you pay life instead of black mana for all of your spells, which is obviously good. It being optional helps too, since you don't have to pay the life, and you can mix and match mana and life to hit the Betor numbers you want repeatedly. Marshland Bloodcaster is the same thing as Karik, but lets you do the same with green and white mana, as well as generic mana, while costing 2 mana in return. It's probably not as good as Karik, but it's still good enough to run for the consistency of having both in my opinion. Priest of Fellrights lets you tap it and pay 3 life to revive anything in your graveyard. This is normally pretty good, but the thing that puts it over the edge for me is that it's 2 mana that pays 3 life, meaning you can just revive this at the end of each of your turns with Betor. That's crazy. It can revive anything too, no matter how big or small it is. Tavash lets you cancel out the life you gain this turn to make a flying token that's the same size. You can stack the triggers with it happening before Betor, which can turn your life gain into counters and a revival if you're willing to give up the life you lost this turn. Something to note is that if you play this with Verdant Sun's Avatar, you gain the life back since its power toughness are equal to the life you paid. Bolas' Citadel is another great way to pay life. It costs a decent bit of mana and it's kind of a target, but it's still a great card in the deck. Though note this will raise your bracket by a point or position or something, since it's a game changer. Greed is good. Greed is good. It lets you turn any black mana you have into life loss and card draw. It's nice sometimes to just pay 2 mana, draw 2 cards, lose 4 life. Then revive a decent guy with Betor. Just an all-around good card for the deck. Mask of Gristlebrand is an alright equipment, giving any creature you want evasion and lifelink, and its ability when the creature dies gives you a good amount of life loss for revival. A lot of the time reviving what died in the first place, and an alright draw outlet to boot. It being an equipment and not an aura helps too, since that means it's reusable. Stargaze is a simple card advantage in a weird way. Paying some unspent mana into this could lead to a decent graveyard filling, while also netting you a card or two for not that much mana. Even 3 mana, look at the top 2, add 1 and mill the others fine sometimes. As for ones I don't run, much like last time I can't talk about every card in the game that pays life, so here are just some of them. Argwell's Bloodfast is basically another copy of Greed that's slightly worse. The last effect will probably not come up since you going down to 5 life or less is way too risky to do, since it makes you dead to most damage spells, but if you do it, you get an okay land that can sack off a creature to gain some life, which puts more counters on a creature, making it even bigger to sack with next turn and gain more life. It's fine if you want more copies of Greed, basically. Bellageous Witherbloom's a bit too much mana to be great in my opinion, but paying 10 life to untap all of your lands is no small thing. The first effect is pretty good too, though I'm putting this in a deck that's more food token and pest token focused, so I'm not running one here too. Carrion Howler is another infinite way to pay life as much as you want in a turn, if you need more of those. It's not that great since it's 4 mana, but it's something if you need it. Eye of Duskmantle is kind of funny if you play more Surveil cards than I do. Paying life to revive something you surveilled, then reviving something else with Betor at the end of your turn is pretty cool. I just don't like it being 6 mana, and I don't surveil enough to warrant it. If you can get this out with Doom Whisperer though, it's really fucking cool. Glasscast Heart lets you pay life to make life linkers that give you access to blood tokens with the tokens that it makes, giving you some graveyard setup with a discard outlet and some small draw power. I like it well enough. Krumar Initiate is a new one. It's an alright way to make some decent tokens or make this guy bigger while losing your life for another revive. Kinda sucks you have to tap it so you can only use it once a turn, but it's still a good card and you can pay the X for as much as you want. It just means you have to spend it all at once instead of multiple times over the turn, which can come up but not often enough for it to be like unconsiderable to run. Lorcan Warlock Collector lets you steal an opponent's creature when they die by paying life, which is pretty nice. It's just 7 mana is kinda rough and a big mana sink. Phyrexian Reclamation lets you turn life into getting some creatures back to your hand. It's a pretty good way to turn unspent mana into life loss and recursion at least. Tavern Swindler's funny. At minimum, it's a way to pay 3 life each turn. At most, it's a way to pay 3 life and gain 6 life to revive one of your smaller fodders, while also putting 6 counters on something. It's also an okay early game 2-2. Text Deluge is great, of course, just out of my budget. Okay, that's all the ones I wanted to talk about. God, these sections a lot. As I said before, there's way more life loss cards in these, so dig around for yourself and find cool ones that you like. This category is a bit weird since some of these also gain or lose you life, but basically these are the cards whose main purpose is triggering whenever you gain or lose life, or getting better the more life you pay or gain. Blossoming Bogbeast gains you some life when it attacks, and gives you a pretty good overrun effect in order to close out games if you gain enough life. Even gaining 5 or 6 life can close things out sometimes with this card. It's just really great. Ezroot Channeler is an alright blocker for flyers that gives your cards a decent cost reduction, helping you with some of the bigger creatures you have. Even if you don't have another life gain outlet, you can tap it to reduce everything by 2 for the turn at least. It may cost a bit too much mana, but I like the reduction in pseudo ramp. Fiendish Panda is a big friend that gets even bigger when you gain life, and revives a creature when it dies. Putting your counters on it while it also grows itself basically lets you revive any creature in your graveyard, and then you can revive the panda with Betor later to do it again. It's pretty good. Lathiel the Bounteous Dawn basically doubles your +1/+1 counter triggers from Betor, and acts as an alright replacement in the late game when Betor might be too hard to cast due to commander attacks. It also has lifelink, so it can trigger itself, which is nice, and it lets you distribute the counters as you like, instead of locking you to just putting them on one creature. Seeing as Lathiel is another outlet for Betor's life gain effect, let's add one that's another outlet for the revival effect. Rodolphe Duskbringer has pretty great keywords, okay protection with its indestructible effect, and basically Betor's revival effect at the cost of 2 mana, but based on your gained life this turn instead of your lost life. A lot of the things I said about Lathiel also applies here, just an alright replacement late game. Sproutback Trudge is a recurable 9/7 trampler that you can basically get back almost every turn for only a few mana. It's an alright threat that your opponent is going to have to use exile removal to fully get rid of, so it can at least draw in removal that they'd otherwise use on less recurable threats. There's tons of cards like this, but my favorite is Starscape Cleric. You can use its Offspring effect to make it so whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 2 life. It can also make an okay early game flyer. I wish it had lifelink, but understand why it doesn't, I guess. Trelasara Moondancer gets bigger whenever you gain life, and also gives you a Scribe, which can help us surveil in any mill effects. Not tons to say here, just a decent card. Vainwitch Coven is an alright statted evasive creature that lets you recur some of your creatures when you gain life for
3
mana. It's really good. There's not much to say about it, just like the last card though. Voice of the Blessed is another great finisher. Just putting a few counters on it from itself or Betor, you end up with a massive, vigilant, indestructible flyer that can end games in a pinch. When you have a life gain deck like this, you don't want to just spin your wheels. You want to make sure you have finishers that have synergies with your life gain and loss effects. Willow Dusk was the original commander I had for this deck. You can tap it and 1 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature for each life gain or loss this turn, whichever's higher. This can help when Betor is taken out a few too many times, and is another great way to end games, even if you have to wait a turn before you use it, since it has to tap itself, sadly. Essence Pulse is pretty good for a board wipe, since just gaining 4 or 5 life is often enough to wipe out the entire board, while keeping a lot of your guys alive due to Betor giving them buffs. Font of Agonies gets counters whenever you pay life, then lets you turn those into repeatable removal you can use as many times as it has counters. It works great with the effects that let you pay any number of life, so you can put a massive amount of counters on it to stock up on near infinite removal. Lunar Convocation is a weird one. Each opponent loses life during your end steps if you gained life, and it makes an alright token if you gained and lost life this turn, but the part that really matters is it's another way to pay as much life as you want, assuming you have the mana for a bunch of draws at least. Well of Lost Dreams turns your life gain into card draw. It can sometimes suck when you don't have the mana to pay, but at least you don't have to pay the full amount. If you gain 10 life, you can pay anything from 1 to 10, so it's not an issue too much. As for ones I don't run but can recommend, Ageless Entity gets bigger whenever you gain life, but I feel like we have enough decent finishers. I could totally see this being real cool though. I just think it's too much mana, and like I said before, we have enough finishers, I think. Amalia has an alright ward cost and lets you explore when you gain life, which fills your graveyard with stuff to revive with Betor. It also lets you do a board wipe if you need, and you can also put counters on it to try and dodge the 20 power effect if you want to avoid. It's fine. Dawn of Hope is fine. It's a fine draw outlet that can also make alright tokens. I just feel 2 mana to draw 1 and 4 mana for a simple token just isn't enough for me. Dina Soulsteeper is another in the Starscape Cleric category, but a lot of the time you don't gain life multiple times in a turn, and you gain a lot at once instead, which doesn't work super well with it. Its second effect is fine, but there's better things to do with your big creatures than sacrificing it to make another creature bigger in a worse way. Essence Channeler lets you move its counters to another creature when it dies, and becomes an alright flyer with vigilance when you gain life, which is a perfectly fine card if you want it. Hurska Sweet Tooth makes you some food tokens, and can be another good finisher by making your creatures massive, but it can be wonky to include in your mana since you have to pay a mana each time you want to do it. Also, I don't want to pay $4 for it. Now time for some rapid fires. Nizar the Velvet Fang is an alright draw outlet, but I feel like we have enough of those. Nykthos Paragon is yet another great finisher if you need one. Veto is obviously great, but also expensive. Vizkopa Guildmage can give all your guys lifelink and give you an okay way to do some damage on turns where your only real game plan is gaining life. Wall of Limbs is an okay defender that can close games sometimes. Okay, now what do we revive with Betor? A lot of the time, you're only going to gain 2 or 3 life a turn when you're in a pinch, and so you're going to want to have smaller things to revive that can help you. So we're going to go over some of those now. Alseid of Life's Bounty is a good early game lifelinker that also acts as a way to give protection to another creature or enchantment. It also only costs 1 mana, so you can revive it on most of your turns. Children of Corliss let you gain life that you lost in combat to your opponent's Children of Corliss lets you gain life that you lost in combat on your opponent's turns, or even the amount of life you paid on your own turn, which you can also revive to do again every turn. Sakura Tribe Elder is a classic ramp card, and since it only costs 2, it's an easy way to keep getting more mana each turn when you're behind on lands. Selfless Spirit is another way to protect your commander, as well as your other creatures. Spore Frog is a fog effect that you can reuse each turn to make sure your life is always protected at least a bit. This is a card I wanted to put in the deck for so fucking long, but I didn't have a home for it, and it's perfect here. These are our smaller creatures to revive each turn. There's more, but they're in other categories, whereas these are the creatures whose main purpose is to be small enough to revive easily and offer protection or ramp or, stuff like that. As for some others you can run, Apprentice Necromancer lets you sacrifice it to revive another creature for 1 turn. It's not great, but if you have more death triggers, it may be a nice option to run. Basalt's Liver lets you sacrifice itself to add 2 black mana, which can help in a pinch if you run out of mana on your turn and you need 2 more for a draw or removal spell next turn. Bottle Gnomes gains you life whenever it dies equal to its power, which you can increase with Betor and also revive each turn if you gain enough life. It's not the best, but it's something you could consider, I guess. Bulwark Ox's Saddle effect is fine, but what matters is that it can give everything with counters on it decent protection by sacking it. I'm considering adding it if I can find room. Cankerbloom is a pretty good removal spell that also lets you proliferate and put more counters on all your creatures. If you need more removal, this isn't a bad choice. Dothy Voidwalker is a funny option. Paying 2 life gets you this annoying motherfucker every single turn, letting you repeatedly steal your opponent's cards and making it annoying to remove in general since it keeps coming back. Okay, rapid fire time, I guess. Overgrown Arch lets you gain some life, makes for an alright defender, and lets you learn if you want to rule 0 and lesson cards. Ronum Unicorn is a more decent removal you can revive easily. Not much else to say about it. Selfless Savior is more protection. Yavimaya Elder is a decent draw power and mana ramp card. Again, I can't go over everything. These were just some of the cool ones that I really liked. Leyland Prowler is a really cool mana dork, either adding some mana or gaining you some life with lifelink, while also deterring attacks with its Death Touch. Also makes a tolerable blocker with 3 toughness and Death Touch. We also run Rampant Growth and Cultivate, which are obviously standard in green decks. We also run Arcane Signet and Soul Ring. What do you expect? As for ones that you can run that aren't, the obvious ones, Accomplished Alchemist can sometimes add a ton of mana, but it's pretty costly for a mana dork. It doesn't gain life itself, and it usually just nets you a few mana overall, since you're probably spending mana to gain the life in the first place. It's not terrible, but it's not a card I like that much. Heaped Harvester lets you search 2 lands, 1 on ETB, and 1 when it's sacrificed, while also getting you some life, but it ends up reading as a spell that costs 4 and a green to search 2 lands and gain 2 life, which isn't great in my opinion. Pristine Talisman's kinda bad, but I get liking it. 3 mana for 1 mana and 1 life a turn is not that good at all, but at least it's a way to ensure you gain 1 life each turn at minimum to revive your smaller creatures in a pinch. Paradise Plume is fine if you end up having more of one color than the other 2 and play more small spells, but if you're playing more medium-sized cards and have a more balanced color pair, it's not that great for 4 mana. Talismans are obviously good, and they're obviously good in here too, ensuring that you at least lose 1 life a turn while adding colored mana. I just don't have room for them in my build and don't have anything I want to take out, but I'm probably going to add them once I find stuff to remove. As for the good stuff we're running, let's start with draw power. We run Inspiring Call, which lets you draw a ton of cards if you spread your counters around right. Night's Whisper and Dire Sight are good draw spells that make you lose life, and there's a lot of others that do the same if you need more. Dire Sight also sets up your graveyard with it, letting you surveil too. In terms of removal, we're running Feed the Swarm, Generous Gift, Mortality Spear, and Path to Exile. Mortality Spear works great as a way to get rid of any non-land permanent for 2 mana most turns. You also can run Swords into Plowshares, since you can exile your own card to gain the life yourself if you want. We run Revival outside of our commander with Unearth, which lets you revive smaller creatures. Dread Return, which is reusable with its flashback cost. Victimize, which gets you a Sack Outlet and 2 revives. And a Broodheart Engine, letting you surveil each turn while giving you a tolerable revive effect if you need it in a pinch. Oh boy, the boring part. We run a lot of the standard lands that everybody runs. We have the Scry lands in here to set up any mill or surveil we need. The life gain lands actually aren't too bad in here, so we run those as well. We run Sandstep Citadel, which is the norm in 3 color decks. Land of War Waste deals damage to you, which triggers Betor. I like Evolving Wilds and or Terramorphic Expanse in here, since a lot of cards in here need specific colors. Rogue's Passage is great to let your lifelinkers 100% get through. We run Vault to the Archangel to give all of our creatures lifelink and Death Touch for massive life gain. We run a total of 21 basic lands, which is about 7 of each type. As for others you can run, shock lands are obviously good here since paying life is what you want to do. High Market gives you a sack outlet and life gain all in one. War Room lets you pay 3 life to draw 3 cards, which isn't that bad for 3 mana and being recurable. Command Beacon lets you put Betor in your hand to dodge demand attacks, which can help seeing as it costs 6 mana after only 1 removal, and that kinda stinks. City of Brass is another way to lose life on your turn easily. As for some basic ass tips that can help you hopefully, don't gain all your life in one turn. Yes, you can gain 20 life or more on some turns, but sometimes it's way smarter to gain 5 life over the course of 4 turns and put counters on multiple creatures instead of just locking yourself to one. Gaining too much life can also make you a huge target. If you have like 100 or more life, your opponents are probably going to target you and try to take you out with commander damage, so you want to make sure you're not at too high of life at any given point, and also might want to run some deterrents to commanders attacking you. Similar to the first point, don't pay all your life in one turn. Much like with life gain, you can pay 30 life to trigger a bunch of cool things, but sometimes you might just want to pay the bare minimum, figure out what's best to revive with Betor during the course of your turn, and pay just enough to revive what you need most of the time. You don't want to get too close to zero and be able to be overrun by something stupid, you know? Your commander is going to cost a lot after just 1 or 2 removals, so you want to play Betor a bit more strategically and not rush play them. Instead, you want to set up a board to play them at the right moment in general. You might also want to consider some protection like Swiftfoot Boots or Lightning Greaves if you realize your Betor is dying way too often. Hi, time for the improvised part where we go over the deck in general, or whatever. We run 35 creatures, which is a lot. One of the cool things about this deck, though, is that Betor can revive a lot of shit, meaning a lot of cards that are kind of bad creature-wise are actually pretty good in here, because you can revive them over and over again. It's like a cool place to have like small creatures that you like that don't really fit in other decks. Like I talked about in the video, I think I pulled a Spore Frog, or I got it in like a bundle, not a bundle, like a bulk thing that I bought. And I really like this card, but I didn't really have a cool place to put it, so I'm putting it in here. And it's also a pretty cool fog effect or whatever in general, because it's good here. That's my favorite kind of commander deck, is one where you can like see bad cards or cards that are considered bad, and it has a home somewhere. That's one of my favorite things about commander, is that cards that are shit have like a home here or whatever. I kind of need more ramp. I kind of want to put in a mana rock, another mana rock like a Felwar Stone or one of the talismans, but I'm not sure what I want to do, you know? So, what to take out or whatever. I also, if you notice, there's some lands that I talked about running that aren't in here because I haven't added them yet. I might remove one of the basic lands to add it. Like I didn't add the Vault of the Archangel or whatever. These two are equal, so it's hard to tell which one of these lands I should take out. I'm thinking I should take out a forest because 46% of our pips are, 46% of our lands produce green or whatever. And some of the mana dorks we could run that like only produce green. Black is the star of the show here because life paying is something that's more of a black thing than the other cards. So that's something. Where is it? Type and tags. Just to give you an idea of how much we have in each category, not counting lands. I think this is okay amount because 14 life gain, 11 life loss, and 15 payoffs for life gain or life loss. Seems to be pretty good. I feel like we also have a decent amount of finishers with like Sproutback Trudge, or cool creatures to make bigger with Betor, or stuff like Tivash, which can make massive tokens every turn. Like, there's some cool things. Even like putting up all the counters on a Doom Whisperer to make it a big flying trampler is pretty cool a lot of the time. What's funny is this deck is $71, but I can promise you it is only because like this is $10, this is like 15 or whatever. This is like 10 or something. Like if I cut out the cards that are expensive that I already own, this immediately shoots down to like 20-30 bucks, which is ideal for me or whatever. I just got lucky and got the fucking Willow Dusk Precon, which helps a lot. My mana curve used to be way shittier, but I added some more 1 and 2 drops to revive and tried to add more 3 drops and get rid of more 4 drops. So this is mostly fine mana value wise. We do have a 9 mana, but that's just Sproutback Trudge, which is going to be lowered, you know. Let's playtest a hand. I did a playtest hand earlier on my own time, but you know, We're going to go to 10 turns as usual. So we're going to draw, we're going to play a forest, we're going to tap it for a Spore Frog as an okay blocker, and then we're going to pass. We'll draw, I think we should Temple of Silence and Scry 1. We don't need another land, so let's move that to the bottom, I think. And then we'll pass. Let's see, yeah. Of course, we draw another land. Let's do a Plains. This one's tough because we can't play them, obviously. They're a bit too much mana, but not quite. If we can play one more mana, we can actually get out a Fell Beast of Gondor, sacrifice the Spore Frog, and start gaining some life. So that's pretty good. Ooh, Fiendish Panda is pretty good too. This is 4 mana, which is what we have. So we're actually going to tap all 4 and play a Fiendish Panda, and that should help a lot. Next up, we'll draw more land. I think we might be land screwed or something. We do have green. I guess we'll bring out our commander. That's tough though. But it's fine. Okay, so now we can actually do shit because we can go black, black, 1, 2, and play Fell Beast of Gondor. We'll sacrifice the Spore Frog to give it a +1/+1 counter, and then we'll swing in with Betor. We're gonna assume it's unblocked because it's a flying lifelinker and it's kind of early, so we're gonna gain 3 life from it. It is 3, right? Yeah. And then we gain life, so we're going to put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then during the end step, we gain 3 life, so we're going to put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. And then I'll draw. We'll put out a forest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black. We're going to put out Rudolph Duskbringer. Fell Beast of Gondor is going to attack. When it attacks, target opponent loses X life and you gain X life for X number +1/+1 counters on it. There are 5? Yes. No. I'm dumb. There's 4 +1/+1 counters on it. So I'm going to gain this much life, and we'll swing it with Betor too. And then it has lifelink, so we're going to gain another 3. This gets 2 more counters. And then whenever... We don't have enough mana for that, but that's probably fine. Also, Rudolph has Indestructible. I don't know. We're going to draw. Play a Plains. Oh, during our end step, we gained... How much life did we gain? We gained 7 life, so let's make this an 11/11. This is difficult. We're not going to put a Bojuka Bug out. That's silly. There's nothing else we want to do with this field, really, because... The thing is, we have decent attackers. So we would swing in with this, we'd swing in with this, we'd swing in with this. Assuming they all get in, we would be at 64 life, gain 3 more, gain 4 more. So, goodness. And then, God, this is 7. Oh. So we gained 11, 18, 21 life this turn. So we're going to put 21 +1/+1 counters on this card. God, I'm trying to remember what it was at. It was at 7, right? So it should be at 28. I think that's pretty good. And then let's go to our final turn. We didn't get to do a lot of the life-paying half of this deck, weirdly enough. But I mean, that seems fine to me, I guess. This seems like a pretty good board for 10 turns. Let's try another one. Why not? This one's going to be a lot worse. But we'll make do. We're going to put out 2 more basic lands. Oh, we'll draw for turn. This might actually change something. Doesn't. We'll play a swamp, and then we'll pass. Ooh, we'll play a plains. I don't think we want to put a Selfless Spirit out yet, and then we'll pass. We'll put out another plains. Oh, we can put out this, actually. We're going to do 1 green-black for a Leyline Prowler as an early game lifelinker. That's actually pretty good. We're going to tap 1 and a green to play Rampant Growth, which gets us a basic land. What do we want? We want a forest, right? Like, that seems like the thing that we want. Once we find it, okay. And then we're kind of pretty good. We have 2 mana left. There's nothing we can really do for 2 mana, though. So I guess we can go like this and play a Selfless Spirit. Why not? Okay, 5? That's we do have 5 mana, but that's not what I want to do right now. I guess I could. 3, 4. I'll play an Alhammarret's Archive. Pretty good to me. Let's swing in with a 2. And then we'll gain 4 life. Because we gain double the life from lifelink. And then we'll pass. That's pretty good too. 2, 3, 4, 5 green. Let's go with an Ezerut Channeler. That reduces our boys. Okay, now we can tap this to gain 2 life. And then we can... I want to gain more life, is the issue. Oh, we'll gain 4 life. I think that's right? And then white, black, green for our commander because our creatures cost 4 less. And then we also cost 4 less, so we can just do... God, I wish I... Oh, black, green for you because they all cost that much less. And then I guess we can swing in with the Flying Spirit and gain 2 life, and then double it to 2 more life, and then we gain life equal to its toughness, so we gain 1 life, and then double that to another life. And then, since we gain life at the end of the turn, we can put that many plus and plus 1 counters on something. We gained a lot of life. I think that was 15. So we're going to put 15 plus and plus 1 counters on actually tough. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That seems pretty good to me. Draw. Why not? We'll put out a Spore Frog for some protection. And then... we don't really have stuff we want to revive, though, is the issue. And nothing we want to play. So I think what I'm going to do is this to gain 4 life. And then I can pay 6 life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And put out... whatever, however you pronounce this, for free, basically. And then black spells are... and then I can pay 2 life for each. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could put out a Doom Whisper if I want to. But I'm not going to because I don't... there's nothing to really revive or whatever. I think that's pretty good for a turn 8, dude. And then I can swing in with you, Flyer. Swing in with you, Death Touch. Swing in with you, Flyer. I gain 5 life. I gain... oh, doubled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gain 3 life doubled, so that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I gain 1 life doubled, so that's 2. I gained so much fucking life this turn, I can't even keep track of it. Really? So I put a fuckload more plus and plus 1 counters on something. I think I can tell, because I can go... I gained 4 life because of this. So that's 4 plus 5, that's 9, that's 10, 11, that's 12, 13, 14. I gained 14 life this turn. So I'm going to put 14 plus and plus 1 counters on something. I'm just not sure what. Wish I could put it on Betor, but it's other, so... I guess I can make Crick or whatever, a 16, 16. Whoops. I guess reset power toughness. I'll just do it again. That seems pretty good to me. I also lost life, but there's nothing to revive. Let's say I sacrificed Spore Frog and then brought it back, I guess. I don't know. Tide Drinker is also pretty cool. Oof. Wait. Okay, except for the first one. I didn't draw anything this one. I didn't draw anything this whole game so far. Tide Drinker is good, so I'm going to go white, black, because I can't reduce that with Ezerut. And then I can't do much else, but I guess I can do this to gain 4 life. 75, and then I can pay 3 mana. No, 2 black mana, right? So 2 black. Doom Whisperer. I'll pay 2 and surveil 1. Put that in the graveyard. I'll pay 2 and then surveil 1. Put that in the graveyard. I'll pay 2, surveil 1. Put that in the graveyard, and then pass during my end step. He's revived. I'll also swing him with these guys, so I gain like 10, 12, 16, so 28. Whoops. Whatever, let's just say this is 2. It's like 40, and then I can put like 40 something counters on it and make everybody die basically. So that's pretty good for a turn 10. And then I just have a Sensitive Citadel, but this is also a pretty good board or whatever. I don't know, I think that's pretty good. God, fucking Doom Whisperer is so good in this deck. I don't know, that's the kind of thing you can really do with this deck, I guess. It's hard to keep track of. Like, something I didn't mention in the tips that I kind of wanted to, but oh well, is that you're going to have to keep track of how much life you gained and lost in a turn. Because I had to think, like, I paid 7 life, but I gained 12, but then I paid another 2, so I got to think about what that adds up to. It just adds up, you know? It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. That's it, I guess. I don't know. I never know how to end these fucking parts. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If this sounded a bit different than my normal videos, I'm using my partner's mic for this and I think it sounds better, but I'm also working shit out audio-wise. Also, this is my first video on a commander that's like relevant. I did a chill build on some relevant commanders ages ago or whatever, but this is kind of different, you know? I was a bit worried to do one like this since there's probably thousands of cards I didn't think of at the time because, you know, the commander's not out yet. So I really do encourage you to look at other lists as well and do some extra research, I suppose. There really are a lot of life gain and life loss cards you can throw in. It's impossible for me to cover them all. It's near impossible to even consider every single one. As usual, I have a Let's Play channel you can find in the description, and I have a Blue Sky as well. Sorry, this is improvised. I hope this helps you guys at least have a decent core of Betor to work with, and I'll see you guys in the next video.